Hey, scrappers and recyclers, it's Shark Scrapper. By now you've probably seen the little short that I did when I picked up these PCs and servers that had been under the mud here in Western North Carolina. You've probably also seen the video where I hosed some of them down. And I've had some good comments about that. We are going to do another video where we try the pressure washer. I was hesitant to do that because I didn't want to blast off components, and I was concerned that the pressure washer would also make even more of a mess spraying things around. But, you know, hey, let's give it a try. Why not? So we're going to do that video too here in the not too distant future. But right now, I can't wait to dig into a couple of these and see if my cleaning job did what I needed it to do. So come on, let's dive in. Okay, so this is a Lenovo. It says it's a Core i5, but yeah, I'm not going to be trying to sell that one to the board sort program. Oh man, let's see, where's the hinge? I don't remember. There we go. There we go. Not too bad. It's kind of clean in there. We've got a few little chunks still, but that's all manageable. We're going to be making more of a mess than I usually make. And I'm pretty good at making a mess. Now, normally that would just release the CD. We have got ourselves some extra work here with this. I also found out that the yard that I normally use does not have a separate category for power supplies. So they either buy those as shred, or I'm going to have to break them down. So we're going to have to get to work on that somehow. I don't know what we're going to do there exactly. There is another yard here that I haven't reached out to yet, so I still need to get hold of them. Ugh. Well, that part didn't get cleaned out real well. And the CD-ROMs are, you know, that stuff's just going to shred too, so I don't know what we're going to do here. I wouldn't mind getting the board off of this. You know what? This one may just be sacrificed. Because that's just, I don't know if I really want to mess with trying to get the board out of this one or not. I mean, the mud is caked in there really well. Normally all you'd have to do is push down on these tabs, and then you'd be able to slide this out without any trouble. I don't know. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm not going to mess with it right now. It's really making a mess, and it's more of a mess than I really want to be dealing with at this point. So, wire. Now the good news is I do not have to cut the ends off of my wire, so that's good. You know, there's always trade-offs, right, with every yard you work with. Man, I hope all the other servers and PCs got cleaner than this, because this part here is just messy. Messy. Somebody asked me if this was stinky, if the mud had any you know nasty smell to it, and it really doesn't. It's just I mean, it's a mud smell, but it's not a nasty smell. And those of you that have been with me for a while, you know that I've actually had some PCs down in Florida that really were nasty, right? Because they'd been in salt water and had nasty things growing in them. And these just had some mud on them, so nothing growing on these yet. I suppose in time something would have grown, right? I also learned that the local yard that I go to all the time doesn't take these as motors. These just go as shred. So I'm setting these aside because there is another yard here and I need to talk with them. So I'm not, I don't know yet if I have an option to sell those as motors or not. Go. The power supplies right now will go as motors, will go as shred to this one, to the yard that I'm buying stuff from. But again, I might have the opportunity to sell to another yard, so we're setting these aside until I meet those guys. There's some RAM, Goldfinger RAM, and let's see about getting this motherboard off of here. These screws are really rusted up now, but they are coming clean so far, anyway. Spoke too soon, didn't I? Didn't I? So I've just got that one that does not want to behave. And I'm not going to even think about sending this CPU to the test and buy program, although it would be kind of cool to see if it worked, just to get an idea of how much abuse these things can take and still be functional. But I'm not going to do that to Chris. That would be uncool. But just out of curiosity, what are we giving up here? An i5? It's only an i5-3. i5-3470. So not huge money anyway, but that goes in with the pinless CPUs. And we get the battery off of here. One more screw. You're working. That one doesn't want to work. Let's see if we can give it a twist, or if I'm going to have to get a socket on it. Yeah, I was able to get it to turn, so that's good. And I think there's one more. Yep, one more down there. So, you know, the good news is I've taken apart so many computers that I have a pretty good idea where the screws are going to be. If you were new to this, you might have a hard time finding some of the screws that are underneath of the mud. So we need to clean this up a bit more before I send it off to board sort, because you know that it's not fair to make Chris pay for the dirt that's in this thing like this. So I'll clean this up a bit more before I ship it off to board sort. Oh, let me get this aluminum heatsink off of here. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more cleaning still But otherwise, this is just a small metal socket green for boardsort.com. Yeah, this is still kind of messy. Now this one, you know, the mud was hiding, so I don't know. We'll see when we get into the servers where I was actually able to open it up much more and give it a more thorough cleaning, if that makes any difference. Now I'm a little worried about the Cisco because I didn't open this one up when I was cleaning the mud out. All I did was stick the hose down in here, down into one side, and wait till I saw clear water coming out of the other side. But that might not have been enough. So let's get her open and see what we're dealing with here. I don't know, that could be trouble. That could be trouble. Let's see what the survey says. Oh, hey, not bad. We did okay. We did okay. We still got a little bit of mud in here, but all in all, that seemed to have worked because the vents were here and here, and so the water would have flowed through and, you know, loosened up the mud and pushed it out the other side. So I think we did okay here. We'll see what it looks like on the underside. All right, we did okay. We did okay with this one. So we'll get these heat sinks off of here. Remember, with heat sinks on these telecom boards, you want to try to give them a twist if you can, because if you just try to pry it straight off, you pop off the chip. So try to give it a little wiggle. These are in particularly bad shape, but with a little wiggle, I'm able to get the heatsink to come off without taking off the chip that's underneath of them. These just go in with the aluminum heatsinks. You get a better purchase here. I think I still might have taken off. Yeah, I did. I took off a chip. I still took off 2 chips. Probably the legs were weakened from a little corrosion, so that's unfortunate. So I'm going to make that a telecom low grade because of all the chips that came off. Bummer. Bummer. That's all right. You know, that happens. And I think that may happen more frequently in these because they've been so abused already. And we get the power supply board. This is just a low grade board here, this power supply board. So low grade board, but there's a copper coil there that come off easy enough. And now we can get the copper off of that. There's that little copper coil there that should come off also pretty easily. There we go. We can get the copper off of that. And we have a little tiny IC chip that I may or may not try to get, an aluminum heatsink. And that I think they'll still buy as a motor if I want to dig that out. For now, it's going in the low-grade bucket until I decide what I want to do moving forward there. And we'll get the rest of this wire off of here. And then we have some charade going back. This is one of the blade servers that I was able to very easily get the lid off of it, so I was able to give it a real good bath. You saw that in the video. So now the only question is, will we be able to get it taken apart, or did we have any damage to the screws, or are they gummed up and stuff? So let's see. We got some RAM here, gold RAM. We have a CPU here. Nice copper aluminum radiator, copper aluminum heatsink, but it may sell at your yard as a copper aluminum radiator. Depends on your yard. And let's see, interesting, that might be another CPU. Let's see what we got going here. Get the screw off of there, dummy. There we go. So that's aluminum, but we'll break off that little bit of metal that's on it, and then we can throw that in with the aluminum. And we'll get our CPU out of here. It's just going to be a pinless CPU. It was probably a Xeon. I'm not even going to look at it, doesn't matter. Yeah, let's see what we're talking about underneath of this heatsink. Some sort of chip down there. So it's not a socket, so it's not going to go as a multi-socket server board. I don't think it will. I need to check with board sort and see if, because of this, the way this chip is on here, if this goes as a multi-socket server board or not. My gut says no, it's only got one socket. Heatsink. We have a little Goldfinger backplane board here. Should come off easy enough. Screws don't want to cooperate. Let's see if we can. So these are the screws that have both flathead and Phillips. And it's letting me get a purchase with the flathead, so get that out of there. That can go with Goldfinger cards. That just goes in with shred. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for shred now, because if my power supplies are going to shred, I could just chuck everything in the barrel. I don't know, because I still need to investigate the other yard and see if there's an option to sell to them. That other yard is a little bit further away, not as convenient, so we have to figure out what we're going to do there. This looks like a Goldfinger card. Get you disconnected. Push down on that metal and then wiggle it out. There we go. And that's like a RAM slot holder there. Yeah, still has some mud underneath there, but that'll go in with your Goldfinger cards, no problem at all. Power supply is really goobered up in there. And I'm looking to see how that wants to come out. Let's see, we have a screw here. Of course, I may just, if I'm just going to sell this power supply as shred, I could just leave it in here. We have another screw here. And it is loosening it. All right, so there's the power supply out of the way. Just cut this wire to get it resolved for now. And you can see we still had a little bit of mud under there, but that's nothing. I mean, you saw what condition this was in before I cleaned it, so. Oh, let's see, get these wires out of the way. And do these fans want to come out? These fans are just going to go as shred because, again, the yard that I work with all the time just buys these as shred. We'll see if the other yard that's in the area, if they buy them as motors, then I'll have to rethink what I'm doing here. Wire. Pretty lucky that the yard that I do business with the most here does not require that I cut the connector ends off of the wire, so that makes it easy. Man, these fans, when I was cleaning them, when I was hosing this down, I could see the mud caked up in the fans, and they were just a real issue getting those cleaned out. We still have a hard drive in here. Yay! It came out without too much trouble, but man, it's in bad shape. But we should be able to get that board. That's a low grade or a SATA hard drive board. We'll still get it off of there. We'll get that cleaned up afterwards. And there's a little backplane board back in here. Oh no, you're not a board. You're just the connectors, so that's just going to go as shred. Wire. Get this wire out of the way. So it's really not that bad a condition now that I've cleaned it all out. It's coming apart relatively easily, but you can see that some of these screws are still a bit goobered up. Let's try number one. Yeah. We're gonna have to go with a socket on that. Come out of there. Da, da, da. You know what I want to try too here? Maybe, because these are the kind of screws that you can also go with the flathead on them, and I wonder if that's just going to be easier because the way they're sticking in the socket. It seems like that might be just easier to do like that. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta try a couple of different tools when they don't cooperate to see which one is easier for you to get it to play. All right, where do we stand here now? You ready to come out? Yes, you are. We still have a little bit of mud underneath of the board, but that's fine. The board itself is relatively clean. Get the battery off of here. So for now, I'm going to go with a small socket metal, but I'm going to find out if this change, because it did come from a blade server, so I'm going to find out if that's going to change the grading at all. I don't think so. I think it's just going to go as a small socket metal, but hopefully I'll have an answer before I put this video up and I can let you know for sure. And we'll get the aluminum heat sinks off of here. Now, if you are forced to depopulate, this is a good board because you've got some nice chips here that you can depopulate, gold corners. Here's another one. You got some nice chips to depopulate for gold recovery, if that's what you do. You've got some copper in the toroids here that you can get after. There's some tantalums that are hiding underneath the mud. There's some oscillators. I don't go for the oscillators. That's just sort of really challenging. 999 Doosan did a video where he went after the silver in those and convinced me that I'm not going to mess with that. So if you have to depopulate, there's some good stuff here that you can depopulate. Now, I'm selling to boardsort.com, so for me, it's just going to stay as is to sell to BoardSort. We have a floppy drive here. Didn't learn my lesson, did I? Didn't learn the lesson, dummy. So this is just a little connector board here for the floppy drive. And that's just going to go in with the low grades, I'm pretty sure. We'll take a look at it here real quick, but yeah, that's just going to go with the low grade boards. And we have another board here. That is your front end jacks and such. So that is, because it's got these gold plated pins on it, you could put that in with your mid grades. So you could throw that in with mid grades if you, because the general rule of thumb from boardsort.com is no visible gold in the low grade bin. So you would put that in with your mid grades because it has visible gold. Granted, it's gold plating. For my purposes, I'm just throwing this in with the low grades for now because I'm still trying to figure out what's going to happen moving forward with shipping costs and such, going to BoardSort versus other opportunities that I have to sell. All right, well, I still have the rest of the palette of computers that was in the mud that I need to pick up. If you've missed any of these so far, there's links popping up that are going to take you to those videos so you can get caught up. And the next video for this series is going to be trying the pressure washer on these. Some of you recommended it, so we'll give it a try.